Hey everybody, what's going on? Eric here. This is going to be a visual review of the 2016 Gibson Les Paul Traditional. Now, some of you guys may not like this review, some of you guys may agree with me on the quality, and some of you guys may, I don't know. But anyways, now the first one that I had I sent back because there was a crack in the finish right over here, right next to the bottom screw, and it was about like a ½ inch long, maybe a little bit longer. Looks like maybe when they didn't pre-drill the hole, it just drove it in and it ended up cracking the finish like a stress crack. And also the first one had a real shitty nut on there. I don't know who the fuck carved that nut that was on that guitar, but they really did a crappy job. Also on that guitar too, the truss rod cover. Let's see if I can focus this a little bit. The truss rod cover on the first one was off to one side. It was closer, the top of it was closer to this peg head than this one. This one here is pretty much even. Now that is kind of showing, when you see something that's supposed to be straight and up and down and stuff like that, and it's kind of even between two things, that shows a little bit of that someone took their time, quality went into it. You know, the guy paid attention to detail. And the first one that I got, it kind of looked like the guy was real sloppy. He didn't care, just to get the job done and get to the next one, I guess. I don't know what it was with it. But this one here just seems to be a lot better as far as that goes. And again, when you see like the truss rod cover is nice and straight and even up and down, it just shows the quality that went into it. The nut, the nut doesn't look like shit. It doesn't look like a kid carved it out. It doesn't look like it's going to fail on you. You're not going to have a problem with it. Again, that just shows quality. Now, what doesn't show quality is some of the other things that I'm going to point out to you guys in this video. And I'm also going to compare this with I have a 2016 Epiphone Les Paul 1960s Tribute. And the quality of that one, even though there's two different companies, two different guitars, this one has some things on it that the Epiphone may not have on there. Again, the quality as far as the finish goes is where I'm going to go with this. Now, on this one here, I'm going to try to show this as much as I can as far as detail goes. This had the clear tone strings on there, and after I set it up and started playing with it, I left those strings on. I started noticing my fingertips, it felt weird, like there was something on top of the strings or on the strings. Almost felt like rust or some type of corrosion was on the string itself. So kind of like put the guitar off to the side a little bit until I went and got a set of strings for this thing. Now I replaced it with nines. I put nines back on here, and I got the cobalts instead of, I think there were clear tones that were on this guitar. Removing the strings off the guitar, I polished the frets, and the frets still have like some scratches inside them, which can't really get them out, but you can kind of see them a little bit. There's a scratching on the top of the frets. I polished it up as best as I can to remove them and without sanding them to make them nice and smooth. Now they are smooth. The strings don't grab the frets at all, so I'm not too worried about that. They've got the binding goes all the way up to the edge of the frets, so there is no way that this is going to cut your hand or your fingers or anything else. The one thing I did notice this when the strings were off of it, and then I oiled the fretboard on this, that the fretboard is wavy. And let's see if I can get this in here pretty good without... I don't know if you can see, like right there. That's a dip in the fretboard. Same thing right here. You can see the scratches from the file in the fretboard. So you can kind of see how the color change. It's like more of a gray, and where my finger is basically. And also that cut is into the binding as well over here. So whoever used the file on this thing kind of filed into the binding, filed into the fretboard. And it's probably when they were, shaping the fret ends on this thing when they did this. Not a big deal, but again, I'm just showing you guys what I'm seeing and possibly what you may find on yours if you order one of these as well. Now, I went through Z-Zounds, and you can basically get this guitar, Sweetwater, whatever, any place you can order. So I ordered it new. It's a $1,900 plus guitar, and I kind of got like a $50 break on it, but it still was $1,900. And for something that you're going to pay money for, you think the quality is going to be a little bit better than what you expect it to be. And So another thing that I found on here, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but if you see this crack over here, and you can kind of see it looks like there's bubbles or something inside there, that's actually orange peel. And it does carry on to the top of the body, so that could have been corrected through sanding and buffing. Now another thing I found on here, which I'm going to try like hell to get this to come in, if you look at the fluorescent light right here, and you watch this line right there, there is a dip right there. Like there's a dent in the body, okay? I know that the top has got a slope to it, but I kind of know what I'm looking for as far as this goes, but there is a dent right here. It's in the body. The finish followed it. And another thing too is the top of this thing has like a real grainy look, and it's not because of the flame maple. Now when they sprayed this thing, they sprayed it real heavy, and what's what we call flooding paint. All right, flooding the paint on here, which is putting a real thick coat on here. And under fluorescent lights, you can see everything under fluorescent lights, okay? Fluorescent lights are not forgiving when it comes to paint jobs. It shows every little flaw, every little piece of dirt that's inside a finish. I mean, it shows a lot. And how I know that this thing has been flooded is because I can see sags in the paint going down the body. And it's pretty much consistent down the whole body. What they should have done is maybe took their time and wet sanded this thing a little bit more before buffing it, and then that would have been gone. That would have been taken care of. Also, I can see like marks going from side to side, showing me that it was a rush sanding. Okay. Yeah. Now, on this one here, the first one had a decent flame maple top. It was kind of nice. But this side really didn't have too much of the flaming going on in it. And it was like some rings in the wood as well. So it didn't match up very well. This one is a little bit better. Now, on these guitars here through Z-Sounds, you're able to pick your serial number. And they also show pictures of that serial number, so you can see what you're getting. Now, comparing this one with other guitars that they had, there was a lot of weird shit that was going on, especially in this top. Not only in the finish as far as the bursting around the edges, but the top in general. One side looked like it was okay. The other side, it didn't look like it matched at all. Now, this one here was the better out of the ones. There was like 6 of them, I think it was, that I saw that I had to choose from as far as the serial number goes. The only thing was there was some lines in the wood, like as you see right here, which looked like they'd been filled with some type of a filler. So there was maybe just some cracking in it or something that was going on in the cap that they put on here. Now, another thing that I noticed too was the bursting that they did, the way they sprayed it. And let me see if I can adjust the lighting over here. All right, like I say, this part over here. Now, it's pretty close to what I'm seeing, exception that the sides are not as dark in the camera or on the camera as they are in real life. They're lighter around the edges. Maybe I said that wrong. But you can see that it's a lighter in this area. The first one I had was much lighter in this area compared to what this one is. But a lot of ones that I've seen online, the way that they sprayed the burst going around the edges was very like inconsistent with both sides and with the curves. It would spray out, like this one here, it sprays out dark at the top and it kind of lightens up over here and then starts spraying dark again. But not only that, on the ones I saw online on the website from Z-Sounds that, they're Gibsons, this line here was wide, getting narrow, getting wide again. And it was like that in different areas. So again, I don't know if they have a machine that sprays this or if it is hand sprayed or not, but whoever did this, this one here is better. The other ones that I seen on the website were kind of shit. I mean, it kind of looked like crap. Now, I've had a lot of this. I'm a Les Paul guy. I like the body style of a Les Paul. I like the way they look. And I've had a lot of them between Epiphone. This is the first Gibson Les Paul. I've had mostly Epiphones. And the one thing that I kind of noticed with them is, the binding itself. Now, I know when they're going through the process and shit like that they scrape the binding to clean them to make them look really nice sharp line and everything around the edges before they clear coat and stuff. But I haven't seen this. Even on the Epiphones, I haven't seen this. Now this is a flat straight edge ruler. And I'm going to try to do this as well as I can. There is a gap. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there is a gap between the binding and the body. So the body steps out and the binding is sunk in. And you could feel the lip all the way around the body of the guitar. Now in the horn area over here, it's even worse. It sticks out a lot over here, especially right over here. And I've never seen that before. Even like the kits and shit that I built and stuff, I scrape the binding to clean them before I do the finish on there. And by the time I get done with the finish, the binding and the body feel like they're one. And I guess, that's the way it should be. But I never noticed it before on anything else like I have the Gibson. And again, I'm going to do a comparison with the Epiphone Les Paul 1960s Tribute guitar, which is very similar to this one here. It's a cherry burst, and this one's a T burst. So they're going to be very similar as far as how they look goes. Quality might be a different story, so we'll check that out in a bit. And another thing too is I thought maybe these would be a standard Allen screw. They actually were metric on mine, so I ended up using a metric Allen key to end up adjusting the action height. A standard felt too loose. But I have plugged this in. I've played it a little bit. I was doing a little bit of practicing with it and stuff, and it feels good. It's a little bit more lighter weight than the Epiphone 60s Tribute that I have. And the neck feels pretty good. It doesn't take much effort to do any fretting on the fretboard. It's comfortable. It's not bad at all. Now, the Gibson Deluxe tuners, I'm going to leave those on here and let those basically, if they fail on me, I got the Grovers. I could just replace them. And it's a one-piece neck. No heel, no scarf. And it is mahogany neck, mahogany body. Now the body is a two-piece. You can see the split down the middle. So it's a two-piece body. They did a nice job. It's not bad, other than, the top could have been sanded a little bit better before buffing. The dent in the wood over here, there's not much you could do about fixing that. But if they flooded it so much, block sanding, that should have evened itself out. And then again, the binding issue on the side where the binding is indented and the body sticks out. Again, that's something that I haven't seen. And the cuts in the fretboard, the way they did this over here. And you can kind of see how when they did it, you see the line on both sides going all the way across. Now this side is not as bad, but this side is pretty bad, and you can see it in the binding too. But I think the person who ended up doing the setup on this one here, who ended up cutting the nut, putting the plastic covers on there, the guy who actually, was the finisher of this guitar, he did an overall decent job, I think. Between the truss rod cover being put on straight and not crooked, that's a sign of quality. The nut not looking like a child cut it up, that's also a good sign of quality. And overall, the rest of it, for $2,000, maybe it could be a little bit better as far as the finish goes. It does look nice when you really get up close to it and personal under fluorescent lights. You start seeing some of the flaws, but I've also seen flaws in other guitars as well, brand new, that a finish problem or something as stupid as not getting close up to the binding of the fretboard when they were wet sanding it. All in all, this is not a bad guitar at all. Sound quality is excellent coming from this thing. Playability, it's I'm a beginner, so it's kind of like you don't want something that's going to really be difficult to play. This is pretty comfortable. I will do a video on playing it. I don't know when, but I will. Kind of been doing a thing where I've been kind of trying to practice a little bit more. That way, the quality of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it sounds better than how I've been doing it as far as playing goes. The flame maple top on this one is much better than the first one that I had. and is much better than the ones that I seen that Z-Sounds was selling. That's kind of why I picked this one out. Even though, you know, the lines that are in the finish top over here is not in the finish, but in the maple top, you know, it is what it is. It adds more character to the wood, right? So that is the Gibson Les Paul Traditional 2016. I wouldn't say their quality is top notch, even though they kind of advertise themselves as being top notch. I don't know. There's some things that could have been done better on here, I guess. But again, it's mostly the finish issues. So, anyways, that's for this one. I'm going to go over to the Epiphone, a Les Paul 1960s Tribute, and we'll take a look at that one, kind of compare the two of them in two different videos. So, stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys later.